The reason why I am so passionate about dyslexia is because of being a dyslexic person myself. I feel like I really understand that we have a responsibility to change the narrative.
One of Epstein's accusers, Virginia Roberts,
Yeah.
has made allegations against Yi.
The royal family has always thrived on tradition, secrecy, and carefully maintained appearances. But every so often, a revelation emerges that shakes the monarchy to its core. Recently, whispers have surfaced about Princess Beatrice, one of the quieter royals, allegedly stepping forward with information that stunned even King Charles himself. According to speculation, she may have uncovered and exposed an old agreement between Queen Camilla and her own father, Bruce Shand, one that allegedly shaped her path into the royal household decades ago. While Buckingham Palace has remained silent, the story has fueled heated debate. Was this supposed agreement simply a family understanding? Or was it something far more strategic, a calculated step to secure Camilla's future within the monarchy? And perhaps the most pressing question of all, why would Princess Beatrice, known for avoiding controversy, bring it up now? If true, this revelation places King Charles in a deeply uncomfortable position. After years of working to present his marriage to Camilla as legitimate and accepted, any hint of secret deals would be nothing short of explosive. And for Princess Beatrice, already living under the shadow of her parents' scandals, speaking out would mark a bold departure from her usual discretion. Tonight, we unravel this rumor step by step, what the so-called agreement was, why Beatrice might have spoken about it, and how it could impact the fragile balance inside the royal family. To understand the weight of the rumored agreement that Princess Beatrice allegedly exposed, we need to go back to where it all began, Camilla's family. Long before she became queen consort, Camilla Rosemary Shand was raised in a household that was both traditional and socially ambitious. Her father, Major Bruce Shand, was a decorated British Army officer who served with distinction during World War II. After his military career, he became a respected wine merchant and an influential figure within Britain's upper-class circles. Bruce Shand wasn't royalty, but he understood the power of connections. He moved easily in elite social environments and ensured his children grew up with access to the best circles. Camilla, in particular, benefited from this upbringing. From a young age, she was introduced to the customs, manners, and expectations of high society. This world was steeped in tradition, but also in opportunity, where the right introductions and friendships could change the course of one's life. Camilla's early education reflected that same environment. She attended prestigious schools and was groomed in the art of social grace. Unlike some young women of her generation, she was not shy or withdrawn. Instead, she was lively, charming, and confident, traits that allowed her to stand out. People remembered her as approachable but witty, the kind of person who could make anyone feel at ease. Those qualities quickly made her a favorite in London's social scene. It was through this web of connections that Camilla first crossed paths with Charles, Prince of Wales, in the early 1970s. They met at a polo match, a classic setting where aristocrats and royals mingled freely. Camilla and Charles shared an immediate bond, one built on humor, warmth, and a mutual love of country pursuits. At the time, Charles was still a bachelor, and their relationship quickly blossomed into romance. But the path to marriage was anything but simple. In those days, the royal family placed heavy importance on tradition and image. Camilla's past relationships and the lack of noble lineage worked against her. Royal insiders whispered that she was not considered a suitable match for the future king. By the mid-1970s, Charles was under pressure to find a proper bride, someone who could embody the ideal of a future queen consort. That decision would ultimately lead him to Lady Diana Spencer. Still, Camilla never completely left Charles's life. Her father, Bruce Shand, was said to have played a quiet but pivotal role in keeping their connection alive. He valued his daughter's happiness, but also understood the influence that a bond with the heir to the throne could carry. Friends of the family often remarked that Shand was both protective and pragmatic. He wanted what was best for Camilla, but wasn't blind to the advantages of her relationship with Charles. It is here where the whispers of an agreement first take root. Some observers suggest that Bruce Shand may have made an understanding with Charles, or with those close to him, that Camilla would always remain part of his world, even if she wasn't his wife. Whether that's truth, rumor, or simply speculation, the connection between Camilla and Charles endured for decades, long after both married other people. This background sets the stage for why Princess Beatrice allegedly resurfaced the issue in recent times. If such an agreement existed, it would explain how Camilla maintained such an unshakable place in Charles's life, regardless of public scandal or royal disapproval. And for King Charles today, the reminder of those early family ties could not come at a worse moment, when stability and public trust are more crucial than ever. The royal family has always been shaped by tradition, loyalty, and private alliances, but what Princess Beatrice reportedly revealed suggests something far deeper. According to insiders, she hinted at a private understanding between Queen Camilla and her late father, Major Bruce Shand, one that might have quietly paved the way for her eventual place beside King Charles. Bruce Shand, known as a disciplined and dignified man, was said to be fiercely protective of his daughter. Even during the most complicated years of her relationship with Charles, when both were married to other people, he is believed to have advised her not to sever ties completely. Some accounts suggest he encouraged her to maintain contact, confident that fate, patience, and loyalty would one day bring them back together. This alleged agreement was less about words on paper and more about a shared determination. Camilla would never let her bond with Charles slip away entirely, and her father would quietly support her no matter how much criticism came her way. Princess Beatrice's comments, if accurately interpreted, seem to point directly to this pact of loyalty and foresight. For King Charles, the suggestion carries weighty implications. The public has always viewed his romance with Camilla as a tale of enduring love, but this revelation suggests it may also have been carefully nurtured from the shadows. The idea that Camilla's path into the royal household was guided by her father's wisdom and quiet strategy reframes the narrative of their love story. It was not simply about two people against the odds, but about a family that never gave up on its belief in their union. This understanding, whispered across generations, might explain Camilla's remarkable resilience. Despite public disapproval and years of scrutiny, she remained steady, seemingly confident that her role alongside Charles was destined. And now, with Beatrice drawing attention to the past, questions rise. Was this enduring love story as spontaneous as the public believed? Or was it supported by careful planning and family loyalty all along? When Princess Beatrice's words reached the public, the ripple effect inside Buckingham Palace was immediate. What might have been intended as a subtle remark quickly transformed into a firestorm of speculation, reigniting decades-old debates about loyalty, love, and power in the monarchy. The royal household, often adept at containing controversy, found itself caught off guard by the weight of Beatrice's revelation. For King Charles, the timing could not have been worse. His reign is still in its formative years, and he has worked tirelessly to present a united modern image of the monarchy. Yet Beatrice's comments stirred up memories of the past that many had hoped were buried. Memories of secrecy, scandal, and whispers that his marriage to Camilla was never entirely free of outside influence. Suddenly, old wounds resurfaced, and the question of authenticity loomed large once again. Inside the palace, aides moved quickly to control the narrative. Some attempted to downplay Beatrice's words, suggesting they had been misunderstood or taken out of context. Others feared that pushing back too forcefully might only lend more credibility to the speculation. The tension grew as courtiers debated whether silence would allow the story to fade or whether it risked letting the public draw their own, more damaging conclusions. The controversy also touched a particularly sensitive nerve: the legacy of Princess Diana. For many, Diana remains the figure most wronged by Charles and Camilla's enduring relationship. Beatrice's words seemed to validate the belief that Diana was fighting against forces far stronger than herself, a love story between Charles and Camilla that had the blessing and encouragement of Camilla's own family long before the world accepted it. For those loyal to Diana's memory, this revelation reopened old scars, painting the union of Charles and Camilla as less about romance and more about inevitability. The younger royals, too, could not escape the storm. Beatrice's willingness to speak so openly raised questions about how much the next generation truly supports the institution they were born into. Was her comment a slip of the tongue, or was it a calculated act of transparency in a family where silence has always been golden? Either way, the damage was done. The public saw a royal granddaughter indirectly challenging the polished image of the queen consort. For the British people, the moment was a mixture of fascination and discomfort. Many admire the monarchy for its history and grandeur, but Beatrice's comments reminded them that behind the ceremonies and traditions lies a web of secrets, compromises, and personal strategies. The idea that Camilla's journey to the throne was supported by a long-standing family agreement adds another layer of complexity to a story already marked by controversy. What remains certain is that the shockwaves from Beatrice's words cannot be easily contained. They have not only placed Queen Camilla under renewed scrutiny, but also forced King Charles to confront a past that continues to shadow his reign. The monarchy, once again, finds itself balancing on the delicate line between tradition and transparency, between image and reality. In the wake of Princess Beatrice's words, all eyes turned to King Charles. The monarch, often measured and cautious in his responses, did not immediately address the matter. Instead, his silence became its own statement, one that royal observers described as both calculated and telling. For a man who has spent decades defending his love story with Camilla against criticism, the resurfacing of this narrative was more than just uncomfortable. It was a direct challenge to the authenticity of his legacy. Sources close to the palace suggest that Charles was deeply unsettled by Beatrice's choice of words. His reign has been marked by a delicate balance, on one hand projecting stability as the head of the monarchy, on the other, defending the woman he has loved for much of his life. The revelation of a supposed agreement involving Camilla's father threatens to undermine that narrative, making it appear less about enduring love and more about careful orchestration. For Charles, who has long battled public opinion, the stakes could not be higher. Privately, those in his circle insist that his love for Camilla has always been genuine, not scripted or manipulated. They argue that any support from her father was nothing more than a father's desire to see his daughter content, and that their bond survived not because of external influence, but because it was unshakable. Yet the king's refusal to directly deny the claims has fueled the speculation further. To many, his silence feels like tacit acknowledgement that Beatrice touched upon a truth long kept in the shadows. For Camilla, the pressure is no less intense. Having weathered decades of criticism, she now faces renewed scrutiny over her past. Beatrice's comments, however subtle, have reignited the question of whether her rise to the role of queen consort was a natural outcome or the result of quiet determination backed by family strategy. Still, those who know her describe Camilla as unfazed, having developed resilience from years of public skepticism. To her, the whispers are simply another storm to be endured. The larger concern lies with the monarchy itself. At a time when Charles is attempting to modernize the institution and maintain its relevance in a changing world, any reminder of past controversies risks destabilizing the public's trust. The British people have always been divided over Camilla, and Beatrice's revelation risks reopening the old wounds tied to Diana's memory. For many, it reinforces the belief that Diana's heartbreak was not just personal tragedy, but the inevitable outcome of a preordained love story between Charles and Camilla. And yet, amid the controversy, Charles's silence may prove to be his strongest weapon. By refusing to engage publicly, he avoids giving the story more weight than it already carries. Some analysts suggest this strategy is deliberate, that the king believes time, as it has before, will allow the controversy to fade. Still, others warn that in an age of relentless media attention, silence is easily mistaken for guilt, and inaction may only deepen the shadow cast over his reign. Ultimately, the moment reveals the fragility of the monarchy's carefully crafted narrative. Princess Beatrice may not have intended to ignite a storm, But her words have once again reminded the world that behind the grandeur of crowns and ceremonies lie personal choices, family strategies, and secrets carefully guarded. For Charles, the challenge now is to prove that his legacy will not be defined by whispers of the past, but by the leadership he brings to the throne today.